She-Ra originated as a female counterpart of He-Man from the show He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
And that's pretty much all the background info I've got.
Apart from the basics that everyone else knows through cultural osmosis, I'm not very familiar with this franchise. In my entire life, I have seen exactly one episode of He-Man.
Though I do still remember little bits of that episode, so it gets due credit for leaving an impression.
While mixed demographics are an open secret today, the 1980s, among other decades, were notorious in their use of market segregation. You know, these are for boys, those are for girls. She-Ra was one of a few cases where an opposite gender spin-off character was created to try and bridge that gap.
But much like that binary understanding of gender, a lot has changed since the 80s.
In this case, we have a spin-off character that got rebooted before the main franchise did. That gave this show a unique opportunity to forge its own identity and, for at least some of its audience, not rely on He-Man as a familiar jumping-off point.
To find out what that looks like, I'm going to be investigating the first season of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Warning to anyone who swears they're totally gonna watch this someday, minor spoilers ahead.
The setting? Planet Etheria. The evil horde, led by Lord Hordak,
wow, that name. More on that later.
Is trying to conquer the planet, but a rebellion stands against it, led by the Kingdom of Bright Moon. One day, a horde soldier named Adora wanders into the Whispering Woods and finds a magic sword that transforms her into a warrior princess called She-Ra. Adora joins the rebellion and journeys to learn more about her powers, as well as recruit other princesses to join the fight.
We're on the edge of greatness, turning darkness to light.
I've watched plenty of different television shows in my life, and the opening songs are just as varied. Happy, eerie, funny, frantic, epic, whatever the tone, its purpose is psyching you up for the latest episode.
Having watched an entire season of She-Ra, I have to conclude that effect doesn't feel quite so powerful in this case.
It's not a bad song. It's not even displeasing to the ear. The vocals are also good and do a fine job guiding the energy from yeah to yeah!
We're right beside you, ready to fight. We're gonna win in the end.
The best way to explain my feelings is that the melody isn't very memorable or catchy, and at least for me, it doesn't hit the musical sweet spots I'd usually expect from a show's theme, which is a bummer because everyone loves a good opening song. If you like it, that's fantastic. Personally, I feel pretty neutral about it.
We must be strong for the honor of Grayskull!
Adora was raised from early childhood by the Horde to believe the princesses of Etheria were vicious and evil.
Which makes her becoming a princess the ultimate irony.
Having never been outside the Fright Zone, one of the many literal names on this show, that worldview is challenged when she's captured by Princess Glimmer and gets her first taste of the outside world.
This is the best day of my life.
This is important to note. Adora wasn't dissatisfied with her life in the Horde.
She has friends there, namely her best friend Katra. She was even promoted to Force Captain, and proud of it. So it's actually difficult for her to accept reality at first.
We're doing what's best for Etheria. We're trying to make things better, more orderly.
But in the end, the Horde attacking civilians is impossible for her to reconcile.
I'm not going home, Katra. I can't. Not after everything I've seen.
Though understandably torn about this decision, she recognizes it was the right one when it really counts.
You're a smart girl. What do you think?
This is wrong.
Since Adora's rebellion is something that took place early in the story, it's not so much a shift in her character as it is the moment that defines who she is.
As such, her growth is a bit more subtle. It comes from being a former Horde soldier learning to navigate new relationships as well as social and diplomatic situations.
Often with humorous results.
I don't like it.
Your Majesty, sir.
Glimmer, what's happening?
Help.
That soldierly disposition also causes Adora to kick herself a little bit more. Now that she's fighting for something that feels right, she doesn't want others getting hurt if she should fail.
I don't want any of you risking yourselves. She-Ra can do this alone.
Not even She-Ra can take out an army of Horde soldiers all on her own.
Then what good is she?
I like this layer of Adora's character not just because it makes her pretty badass before she even becomes She-Ra, but because it acknowledges that changing sides doesn't rewrite who she is.
In summary, Adora is a tough yet socially awkward fish out of water stressing about her magical destiny. And you know what? She's a good kid.
I'm She-Ra.
Hi, Glimmer.
You're grounded. grounded!
Mom!
You heard me!
You never let me do anything!
Glimmer is Adora's very first encounter with an actual princess.
She wields the power of sparkles, which really sounds dumb out loud, but its uses include teleportation, power punching, and energy blasts. Glimmer is the daughter of Queen Angela and a rebellion commander who wants to prove herself after the discovery of She-Ra by reforming the Princess Alliance.
My mom's gonna be so impressed.
In pursuit of this, Glimmer sometimes makes rash decisions that bring about less than ideal consequences.
I'm here! Okay, my mom's on her way, but no one panic.
What?
I said no one panic!
Because of this, Glimmer tends to avoid talking to her mom about stuff.
But no one is allowed to tell my mom about this. I don't want my mom freaking out any more than she already is, okay?
It becomes a pattern.
Silver lining, that fact isn't ignored, so I'm hopeful that we'll see their dynamic evolve in future seasons.
Despite these instances of parental drama, I do admire Glimmer's sense of determination.
Quick decisions don't always go badly, and sometimes they're needed, and it doesn't mean that Glimmer's instincts are wrong. In fact, a lot of them show just how much her head and heart are in the right place.
You want She-Ra to fix everything, but you won't even try to save yourselves? At least Adora's trying.
Speaking of heart, Glimmer is also quite compassionate. When Adora becomes her ally, Glimmer quickly realizes her new friend feels out of her element.
Sorry, I couldn't sleep in my room. I've never slept without any other people around before.
And then receives her with kindness and patience.
Bo and I thought we'd throw you a sleepover. Then you won't feel so alone.
My first impression of Glimmer was that she definitely had some growing to do, but by the end of the first season, she'd already taken significant steps forward.
And since season 1 is only 1/4 of the entire show, I'm rooting for her to take even bigger strides in the future.
Hey, Glimmer!
Bo is Glimmer's best friend and a voice of reason or encouragement, depending on the situation.
If you want to prove yourself, it's gonna take more than running recklessly into any old battle.
He also wields a bow, and by my math, that makes him the most literally named character on this show.
On the many adventures taken with his squad, Bo is the most likely to get awestruck by what they do or see.
And I'm happy for him. What good is an adventure if no one's geeking out over the cool stuff?
Bo is also very socially adventurous, usually the quickest to buddy up to new faces, perhaps too easily.
Best friend squad!
Buddy, she literally just betrayed the Horde. Baby steps.
Speaking of the Horde, I need to challenge the logic of this line.
Your army is called the Evil Horde.
Who calls us that?
Everybody!
If I may suggest a more obvious red flag.
I wonder what's even outside the fright zone anyway.
See? And even the Horde calls it that, so it's fair game.
But we need to move past my nitpicks and point out that Bo is great friend material. When Glimmer has confidence issues and Adora is struggling socially, he props them up.
Sorry I let you guys down after you talked me up.
We just wanted everyone to see what an awesome person you are.
The best example is in the Shadows of Mysticor, where Bo and Glimmer take Adora on vacation, but she can't relax.
This isn't working for you, is it?
No, can I move now?
Clearly this show is already getting inside my head because I connect way too deeply with that feeling.
Even when repeated attempts to help Adora don't work, Bo doesn't get upset with her. He's patient and considerate of her feelings.
We could get massages, or we could find you something to hit, if that would work better.
Being a supportive friend is good. Being adaptive in how you show that support, that's Bo.
You can do this, Glimmer, and you don't have to do it alone.
Hey Adora, how's it hanging?
Katra was Adora's best friend growing up, but becomes her rival when she defects. Katra isn't the most powerful Horde operative, but she's essentially the show's main antagonist. Plus, she's as much a cat as her name implies.
How did you find me?
Did you think it would be that easy to escape the Horde?
Thankfully, the show doesn't constantly stop itself to go.
She's a cat.
There is a gag in the first episode.
Is that a mouse? What? Where?
But most of the time, it's just part of her natural behavior.
I actually find Katra to be the most interesting character on this show based off what she gets up to, her personality, and how she develops.
The focal point of that interest is her changing relationship with Adora. On the lighter side, she's playful and snarky, which is a super fun way to go about clashing with your rival.
Maybe my plan won't work, but then again, maybe it already has.
On a totally unrelated note, do you guys see this resemblance?
More seriously, Katra felt betrayed by the defection. Though that raises her status within the Horde, perpetually unfair scrutiny also leaves her feeling alone in it.
Easy, Katra. Adora's not here to protect you anymore.
This compounds her resentment towards Adora, and we're reminded that as her former friend, Katra has the potential to cause the most pain.
If you want to take down Adora...
First, we attack his heart.
This tension peaks when the two are trapped inside a mysterious temple together in the episode Promise.
Through simulations, they relive their childhood memories, and we, the audience, get to see how deep their bond goes, and what was sacrificed when they became enemies.
You look out for me, and I look out for you. Nothing really bad can happen as long as we have each other. You promise?
Promise is not only my favorite episode of the season, it's a big part of why Katra is my favorite character.
Is this what love feels like?
Silence! Do not be flippant with me, cadet.
Sorry, Shadow Weaver.
Shadow Weaver is Hordak's second in command, a dark sorceress who raised and trained, among others, Adora and Katra.
Sure, she's not their biological mother, but hey, remember this wonderful bit of wisdom?
He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
Yeah, that doesn't apply either. She's more like the evil caretaker from Annie.
Shadow Weaver favors Adora and strives to bring her back from defection.
You've completed your training course in record time.
But has historically been very harsh towards Katra.
How someone as unmotivated as you completed the course in that time, I'll never know.
It's the best kind of irony that both of them wind up rejecting her.
Adora's new relationships open her eyes to Shadow Weaver's mistreatment.
They've been kind to me, something you never were.
I prepared you for greatness.
But you never loved me.
While Katra has to break through the resentment she's always gotten.
I wanted you to be strong.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I'm plenty strong now. And I don't need you.
Shadow Weaver is an example of how an otherwise typical villain can be made more interesting by just making good use of the connection she has with certain characters.
But wait, there's more.
She draws her powers from the Black Garnet, a runestone that used to belong to an Etherean kingdom that surrendered to the Horde.
And though Shadow Weaver is the face and power of the Horde for much of this season, the stone ultimately belongs to Hordak.
I'm calling this the Darth Vader effect. Shadow Weaver is one bad mother, pun intended, but she's not the one in charge.
I gave you your magical power. I can take it away.
What else can I say? Shadow Weaver is a layered, well-utilized villain.
Also, her voice is so deliciously evil.
It will be my pleasure to put you back in your place.
Etheria is divided into kingdoms ruled by magical princesses. Most of them draw their power from elemental runestones, while some are skilled in other ways.
We're not really sure what they do.
I've mentioned this a few times, but now I'm gonna go off a little. So many things in this show are very literally named. Princesses and kingdoms especially.
The Kingdom of Plumeria and Princess Perfuma. The Kingdom of Snows and Princess Frosta. Oh, and Glimmer has a sorceress for an aunt. Guess what her name is? Guess.
My Aunt Castaspella just happens to be head sorceress there.
And rounding back to the beginning of the video, the Horde's leader is named Hordak.
To be fair, cartoons have done this for ages. I'm used to it. It doesn't really bother me that much.
But it does just enough that I had to say something about it. Anyway, on to the princesses.
Perfuma can grow and control plants. Her MO is positive vibes and zen.
The blight hit right after the Horde arrived. We don't know why, and nothing I do stops it.
But we don't dwell on the negative. Look at the positive. The heart blossom's still healthy. And the She-Ra is here.
Which makes seeing her fight all the more wonderful.
I've never been so alive!
Mermista can control water and turn her legs into a fishtail. But her greatest power is a dry attitude rivaling Raven from Teen Titans.
I'm handling it. It's just kind of inconvenient because the Horde won't stop attacking us.
She also gets the best line in the show's trailer.
Plus, your friend over there can turn into a 8-foot-tall lady with a sword, and I want her on my side.
That was also the moment that I knew I wanted to check out this show. Took me 2 years to get started, but hey, I kept my promise.
Entrapta doesn't appear to have an elemental power, so I'm guessing she has some form of telekinesis, given the fact that her hair moves like Dr. Octopus's mechanical arms. Also like Doc Ock, she loves science more than people.
The tall one seems infected too. She turned less tall. How does it
work.
Actually, now I say that, maybe there's a scientific explanation for the hair. I'm probably overthinking it.
Princess Frosta controls ice.
I mean, duh. But in seriousness, there's a duality to this character that I respect.
She's mature for her young age, very dedicated to royal traditions and etiquette, and doesn't take BS.
I have worked too hard to gain respect, only to throw it away because you feel they're up to something.
There's also the fact that the Kingdom of Snows is neutral in the fight against the Horde, making it harder to convince her to join the Alliance.
The Kingdom of Snows has defended itself perfectly well for thousands of years.
But despite her firm, no-nonsense attitude, every now and then, her inner child shows itself.
The snow peas and the cookies are touching. Do it right!
This last princess is in a class all her own. Remember how I mentioned that there was an Etherean kingdom that surrendered to the Horde? Meet Scorpia.
She looks tough, and she very much is. But...
Kitty! Huh? Just so you know, I'm a hugger.
She is also such a huge sweetheart.
At first glance, I expected her to act more like Jasper from Steven Universe.
There's always someone to fight. There's just no one left worth fighting.
That said, I definitely like this approach more. Not just for the surprise factor, but because sometimes cartoons sleep on the idea of giving villains extra depth, and their screen time plays out like,
"Destroy the heroes."
"Yes, my lord." Bad guys getting funny or cute moments is a good way of showing that they have personality.
Being evil doesn't make someone incapable of being nice. And that is the very essence of Scorpia.
Unfortunately, you're the only one I can trust around here.
Because we're best friends.
This next character is not a princess, but I do feel he should be mentioned, and I didn't know where else to mention him, so...
Swift wind!
Early in the show, Adora accidentally uses magic on a horse. That horse grows wings and a horn and flies away. He returns later in the season with a magical connection to Adora and the ability to speak.
I wasn't 100% sure how to feel about this character at first. Upon further consideration, I can say he definitely makes me laugh.
His general approach is being straight to the point and unapologetic about speaking his mind.
Everyone will be better off if I just stay far away from them. It's for the greater good.
Well, that's just stupid.
I guess it's fitting that Swiftwind felt jarring at first because he was pretty jarring to the characters as well.
He's a talking horse!
Okay, I'll give you a moment to freak out, and then we need to talk.
In the end, he grew on me, and I look forward to seeing what part he'll play and what else he'll bring to the group dynamic.
Plus, he's a magical flying unicorn. Regardless of context, that is pretty cool.
For the rebellion!
I am Light Hope, Etheria's facilitator. I was created by the First Ones, as you call them.
Last but not least, I've got to tell you guys about the First Ones.
This is the name given to members of an advanced society that disappeared 1,000 years ago, leaving behind their legends and advanced technology that those living on Etheria now get to sift through. In fact, Entrapta was messing with First One's tech in her debut episode.
I like your sword. It's First One's tech, right? Can I touch it?
Thank you. Yes, and no. Not right now.
The First Ones are this show's primary source of mystery.
Adora obviously has a few questions about the magic sword that called her name.
And not only does that sword have ties to the First Ones, but Adora can somehow read this dead civilization's language.
She-Ra.
Without getting into deep spoilers, the First Ones do have some of Adora's answers, but they also carry the potential for trouble, as both the Horde and the Rebellion are trying to find uses for their technology.
Will this conflict of evil armies versus magical princesses also result in an arms race for First One's tech? Yeah, probably. Let's wrap this up so I can watch Season 2 and find out for sure. I don't know how closely this show matches up with the original She-Ra, but I also get the impression that I don't really need to.
Not watching the original Voltron didn't stop me from enjoying the hell out of Legendary Defender.
And if this show evolves beyond its source material the way Legendary Defender did, then there's no reason why it can't or shouldn't be watched with a fresh perspective.
The show's art style has a bright, varied color palette without being what you would call vomiting rainbows, with one exception. I also love the sheer stylistic contrast between the general look of the show and the aesthetic of the Fright Zone. The show's humor relies on some easy gags, but also good visual and character-driven material. It can be groan-worthy sometimes, but mostly it's quite amusing. The atmosphere is generally light, but don't prejudge. It can also get somber, serious, and tense.
Though occasionally one episode will end on a super serious note, and then the following episode will open on a gag. This effect is most jarring if you're binge-watching the show, which... Netflix.
The characters are well varied in personality, and while some are definitely more interesting or entertaining than others, all of them were engaging on some level. We don't know the Horde cadets very well, so I hope they get more screen time. For crying out loud, one of them's a lizard. In fact, what about all the other anthropomorphic creatures in this show, just teasing us with minor appearances?
Let's meet more of them, please.
I also do want to see more Hordak, but not too much. This show has mastered the art of giving him just a little bit of screen time and making it count. Hands down, the conflict between Adora and Katra is my favorite part of the show, and what I'm anticipating the most in Season 2. I'm also eager to learn more about the as-of-yet unsolved mysteries involving the First Ones and Adora's past.
Other shows have reeled me in tighter, but if I haven't made it clear already, I'm definitely continuing to watch She-Ra. If you liked hearing me talk about it and want to hear my thoughts on Season 2 and beyond, leave a like and comment down below. This is Detective Steve, signing off.